I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Glad you're with us on a Monday morning. Hope your drive into work or whatever it is you're doing is going smoothly, as there's a lot of weather out there in parts of the country. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We will be on ESPN2 once our coverage of the Australian Open wraps up. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Sal Paolantonio will join us in just a little bit. I'm sure he's had an interesting night in the southern New Jersey, the Philadelphia area. Brian Billick will join us at 8:30, and Ryan Clark will be in studio at 9 o'clock. Give Philly a lot of credit because they came prepared. It looked like they took this one the right way. I mean, some of the video clips we're seeing of the celebrations that have gone on in Philadelphia have just been remarkable.
They know how to party angry, and they know how to party happy.
And sometimes the angry party is happy.
Yeah, sometimes you can't tell
It's a hard time
what
to
they're
find.
partying for. They're just partying anyway. So obviously we hope everybody was somewhat safe. Even the guy running for the train that ran into the pole, which was some interesting video. The police there greased a lot of the poles
with
Crisco, so people couldn't climb them. A dune buggy actually went up the steps, the Rocky Steps.
Philadelphia Art Museum.
Actually went up the steps.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
There was a great tweet about that the line was, kid, Mom, where's Dad? Mom, he's in jail. He took the dune buggy up the steps of the Art Museum today. It's been amazing. There's just people walking around shirtless with the dog masks on. Yeah. Give it up for the Philadelphia Daily News. The back page or the front page, it's I think it's Jalen Mills with the dog mask on, and the headline is Best in Show.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's a very good headline.
Good. Yes. So they know how to celebrate. They know how to celebrate New England because they've been there, done this. I mean, they're going to their third Super Bowl in 4 years. Only two teams have won 3 Super Bowls over a 4-year span. That would be the Patriots of 36, 38, 39, and the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. So they have a chance to not only do it, but do it twice, which would be ridiculous. And again, we'll be all over that because we will be in Minneapolis next week, and we'll be there at the Hard Rock Cafe inside the Mall of America. So come out and check us out. We'll be there Wednesday through Friday getting you set. We got a ton of great guests.
Yes, we do.
Coming up for that, and we'll break it all down and get ready for it this week. And we got the Pro Bowl coming up as well. But lots of other things to get to, and let's do that as we start off the top.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
And we start with non-Super Bowl related football news. The Giants are expected to name Vikings offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur as their next head coach, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Giants had planned to bring in Shurmur for another interview, with a source telling ESPN's Jordan Renan that a deal could be done by Tuesday.
How about that? So they're going to get that one done. The talk is then that Jack Del Rio, who is still owed $6 million a year for another 3 years by the Raiders, as he was fired there. So John Gruden could be hired. Looks to be the defensive coordinator with the Giants. But Shurmur, I don't think they're going to waste a lot of time on this one. Get in, get it done, and get him to start working. I think at this point that's kind of what you're looking to do. It still looks like the Detroit Lions are going to have to wait if they want Matt Patricia, the D coordinator from the Patriots, and the Indianapolis Colts are going to have to wait if they want Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator from the New England Patriots. And it's possible that Brian Flores, the Arizona Cardinals, are expected to submit a request for a second interview with Flores. They could lose 3 assistant coaches if Flores, the linebacker coach, ends up in Arizona. So, but all these teams have to wait now because as the New England Patriots getting ready for yet another Super Bowl.
That would be a first, by the way.
Yes, it would.
We've never had one staff lose all 3. By the way, if you're Jack Del Rio, would you take another job, or you just take that $6 million for 3 years? I'm just going to chill.
$6 million.
What would you do?
I mean, it depends. You want to stay in it. I mean, he's my age, so he's been a head coach at a couple places now. Do you want to take a break yet and then come back? Do you want to jump right back into it and stay in the flow of things and be in it, for another head coaching job? I don't know. Personal preference. I'm with you. Maybe take that break before you go back. But these coaches, man, if they don't want to get out, they love it, and they're just going to keep moving on.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah, it is.
So often they can't imagine life without it. He's all about football. His son played at Florida.
At Florida, yeah.
But the West Coast to East Coast, all that kind of stuff. Hey, look, whatever Jack wants to do, we wish him all the best. But these guys, once it's in your blood, it is in your blood, and it's never going away.
Off the top.
All right, in the NBA, the Lakers, without Lonzo Ball, rolled the Knicks 127-107 for their 6th win in their last 8 games, Mike.
Yeah. So, again, this team, what they're going to do, I don't think anybody's really looking. They sit there, the Lakers, where are they, at 17-29. Lonzo Ball's been nicked up a little bit with the shoulder now, and the knee. Kyle Kuzma is the rookie that's really taken off for them. And this one, they really relied on their bench. They got a season-high 76 bench points in the win. As far as the Knicks, it's their 5th 20-point loss this season. A lot of Knicks players saying, hey, we expect to make the playoffs this year. They're a couple of spots out of that right now, but a good win for the Lakers as a young team, seeing what they're going to develop into down the road.
Yeah, and you're right. The Knicks are sort of a weird team at this point.
They are.
Vacillating back and forth. But again, as you made the comment earlier when we were talking about the Cavs, still a long way to go in this season.
Yeah, it is.
Off the top.
Staying in the NBA after knocking off the Warriors on Saturday, the Rockets host another hot team on Monday as Miami comes to town. The Heat are 16-6 since December 9th.
Yeah, they are. Second best record in the NBA behind the Warriors, but the Rockets are, and the Rockets beat the Warriors. They beat the Warriors 2-1 in the series this year. And when James Harden, Chris Paul, and Clint Capella, who, by the way, said we are better than the Warriors.
Well, technically he's right. They beat him 2 out of 3 times, but I don't think anybody's looking at right now when he says that.
The Rockets are 17-0 when all 3 are in the lineup.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Look, we talked about that a little bit, and we'll see if the Clint Capella "we're better than they are" thing continues in April or May. We'll figure it out down the road.
Off the top.
By the way, today is the 12th anniversary of the Kobe Bryant 81-point game against the Raptors, the second highest scoring game in NBA history.
So I looked back at his box score for that game. Played 42 minutes.
Pretty good.
Made 28 shots, took 46 shots. 3 points, 7 of 13. Free throws, 18 of 20. Actually had 2 assists in the game as well.
Actually, that's the headline.
That's
in
the
a
big
game in where he took 46 shots and scored 81, he actually passed it.
2
right?
assists, 6 rebounds and 2 assists. 3 steals as well in that one. His plus-minus for the game was -1.
Yeah. -1?
-1.
-1 in a game he scored 81.
-1.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, of course, we said the second highest scoring total in the NBA behind Wilt's 100-point game.
Right.
By the way, people forget that game was in Hershey, Pennsylvania when he scored 100
Wilt's
points.
game, not Kobe's.
Game. No, Kobe's game was not in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Wilt's game was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, a tiny arena. And, like 30,000 people. Well, I was there. It seats about 500.
That's exactly right.
It's a little different. Yeah.
1 million people have said they were at that game.
No, you really didn't. You really didn't.
Yeah. I made that sign 100 that I gave to Wilt, and he held it up.
I was standing right next to him. By the way, we're asked to give out an MVP moment of the week, so why not give it to Kobe one final time on the 12th anniversary? It's brought to you by Sport Clips. Check in online at sportclips.com/check-in and claim your spot today.
By the way, I said Kobe was -1 and plus-minus. Wilt was +25.
See, that's better.
Yeah.
And 100.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it really... It's like the Cavs scoring 124 and losing by 24. When you score 81 and you're -1, that's very hard to do.
I mean, what's that?
I'm going to correct you here. He was a +25. Kobe was.
Why am I looking at plus-minus? Is -1 here? What am I looking at then? I'm looking at the box score.
Help me out here.
I don't know what you're looking at. He was a +25.
I'm looking at the box score, and it says plus-minus. It says -1. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
We've got statistical beef, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm all the other ones right, except for the plus-minus, which you were off by 26.
Okay, well, I'm not off by 26. This box score is off by 26. I'm staring at the box score. Okay. Staring at it.
What's your source?
The box score.
Of what? From where?
I don't know.
What website is what I'm asking?
It's ESPN's.
Oh, okay. But then that's right. Brett's wrong.
I Googled Kobe 81 and it said box score, and I pulled up box score and it says -1. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, the box score, what was that, Stanzik, that you just said?
If you look at the box score, every single player in that game on the ESPN.com box score, it says -1.
I wasn't looking at every single one. I wasn't breaking down every single one. I was just looking at his line. What do you want me to tell you? They got it wrong. I read the wrong stat.
So, happy 12th anniversary, Kobe. We completely botched your plus-minus on this Monday morning.
Wow.
Whoa.
To that box score.
We need to get that one updated.
Because I was just going to ask, how is it possible you're -1? And obviously it isn't.
The answer is it's not possible.
Good box score.
I mean, technically it is possible, but
by the way, everybody for the Toronto Raptors was -1 in plus-minus as well. Now that I dive deeper into this box score, boy, they really messed it up.
Yeah, Stanzik just said that, by the way.
Stanzik, I don't listen to you. I don't even know why you talk to me. I don't even acknowledge you.
You don't read real well either.
We are off and running.
I don't read real well. The box score says -1.
Yeah.
So I read that really well. -1.
I got a better number for you.
Yeah.
His usage rate in that game was 57%.
Okay, and so you can't just throw out usage rate.
Yeah.
You want to put some context?
The amount of possessions he used, essentially, meaning he shot it, or passed it, or was fouled.
Yeah.
He was participating heavily.
He was heavily
more than
involved.
half.
Yeah. I guess you would have to be to score that much, wouldn't you?
Let's just say he was a big part of the game.
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brett. And we'll get that box score on ESPN.com
nice
12 years
score.
ago updated.
Wow.
We'll get the IT folks on that right away. So as I'm scrolling through Twitter, as you want to do when you're doing this show, and listening to every word you say.
Well,
always,
of course you are.
I just saw this one that I think came out on the Philadelphia Police Department's Instagram Saturday night, and here's the quote. Now comes the time in the night where we must warn everyone about the dangers of saturated fats. Cheers for Foles. Jeers for polls. It's a long way down, baby. Celebrate responsibly. # Philadelphia Pole Grease Department. So there's a picture of Crisco. So they were out there. Yeah. They were letting everybody know this is what we were going to do.
Amazing. They're out there greasing the poles
to make sure you don't do that. But my favorite line: cheers for Foles.
Yeah.
Jeers for polls.
That's really good.
That's Philly taking it to the next level.
Is.
And no one knows that better than our guy, Sal Paolantonio, the ESPN NFL reporter, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. So, Sal, before we get into the breakdown of the game, were you able to witness the effectiveness or complete ineffectiveness of the pole greasing by the Philadelphia Police Department?
Listen, people in Philadelphia are going to figure out how to get up a pole with grease or no grease. Okay, it doesn't take too much of a creative genius to figure out how to get up there. And there were plenty of people up on light poles last night, but I'm happy to report there was no major violence. People celebrated, I think, it was a crazy night last night. It was like a Steven Spielberg movie. It was insane. Everywhere you went, Frankfurt and Cotman, South Philadelphia, Center City, everybody was out in the streets. It was a total party. And as far as I can tell, I scoured local news before I came on with you guys because I knew you would go in this direction. Shocks. and I obviously went on Philly.com and PhillyVoice.com and CrossingBroad.com, and there are no reported incidents of violence against any businesses or anybody else. I mean, there were some fights in the parking lot.
Before the game, right?
Yeah, before the game. But I said when I was on with you Friday, we're going to play tackle football before the game, during the game, and after the game. I mean, if you're going to show up in the parking lot with a Vikings jersey on, I mean, come on. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it. I mean, there was a couple of incidences and a couple of bloody noses, but nothing major. I mean, that parking lot fights happen all over NFL stadiums, everywhere.
So, Sal, knowing that not a lot can really surprise you with either celebration of joy or sadness in Philadelphia, did the dune buggy going up the rocky steps, did that at least get a smirk out of you?
Yes, it did. I was kind of angry I didn't get to ride it. I love a little prop. As you know, Trey, I'm a prop guy on TV. Dune buggy up the rocky steps would be the perfect Sal Pal prop on NFL Live, would it not?
Oh, that would be that would be a thing. That would be a live shot for the ages, Sal. If we could have you in the dune buggy doing the live shot as you were going up the steps.
So I'm very annoyed at myself that I didn't come up with it first.
Well, I do have to ask now that Sal, you pointed out that Eagles fans and Philly sports fans will find a way to climb a pole. So if we know that, what's the point of even greasing them with Crisco if you know it's not going to be a reasonable deterrent?
Well, I think it was for the most part. Yes, I was being somewhat facetious. I think it was. You know, and they've been doing it in New Orleans during Mardi Gras for 20 years.
Absolutely.
It's not anything. Yeah, it's not anything new. It just happens to be on social media in Philadelphia. You know, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It was a little proper prior preparation by the police department, and they were out in full force. And the Philly cops had everything pretty much 99% under control last night. And you had crowds of tens of thousands of people on the street. So congratulations to the Philadelphia Police Department and the Philadelphia football fans. Well, I mean, you got to remember something, and Golick knows this, Trey. Listen, this is Super Bowl 52. There have been a dozen trophies, some Lombardi trophies handed out in the NFC East, more than any other division. Yep. And the Eagles don't have one of them. This town supports this team in a way that really goes beyond, you know, considering what the team has given back over the years. And they believe in the team and they love the team. And I got to tell you, having been around this team and covered it now for a quarter of a century, I think this team is beloved more than any other. And I'm talking about Jerome Brown, Reggie White, that whole Mike Golick team with Buddy Ryan, which was truly a great team and a beloved team in a way that, you know, people hadn't seen since Dick Vermeil. This team, in my view, is the most beloved that I've ever been around.
Well, why do you think that is, Sal?
Doug Peterson, two words, absolutely. This guy has the right tone all of the time. He does it with players. He does it with the media. He does it with his fellow coaches. People want to be around Doug Peterson. And he has been the constant, Trey, through the entire season. When you consider all they lost, two special team stars, Darren Sproles and Chris Maragos, the starting left tackle, your MVP caliber quarterback, the guy with the green sticker on the back of his helmet at middle linebacker, Jordan Hicks. All of those guys got back-to-back at home underdogs, unprecedented for a number one seed, and you win both games and you demolish, I'm going to use that word specifically, you demolished the number one overall defense that was favored in your building, and they demolished them. And you got to go back to Peterson. You know, and I was on live with you during the week, last week, and you asked me about, you know, what's the vibe there? And I said, I've never seen energy like this around a team in the middle of a week during a playoff run. There's a level of intensity, and it has to do with how Peterson pivoted from that Falcons game. That is just a little bit of a window as to how well he coached this team. And one more thing. Last night, after the game in the locker room, he didn't waste any time at all, Peterson. He pivoted right away to the Super Bowl. He said, listen, I have a Super Bowl ring. It doesn't say SEC champs. This is what he told the players. Closed door, behind the scenes. It doesn't say SEC champs. It doesn't say ACC champs. It doesn't say NFC champs. It says world champs on my Super Bowl ring, and that's what we're looking for. And that set the tone right away for this team.
Sal, how quickly did the players that you talked to and the vibe from them switch to the Super Bowl, move past this game?
You know, obviously, Michael, it takes a little bit of time. There was a tremendous celebration, no doubt about it. But you saw the Lane Johnson quote about Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah, you know, I spoke to Malcolm Jenkins on the field. You know, they hadn't even completed constructing the riser for the Fox celebration. And I talked to Malcolm Jenkins on the field, and I said to him, hey, you're going to the Super Bowl. And he said, you know what, Sal? We're not going for a field trip. We're going out there to win it. So it was pretty quick. I think they feel, you know, they're the largest underdog now in the Super Bowl since the Cardinals against the Pittsburgh in 2009, 5.5 point underdogs to the Pats. And I think they have already decided that they're not going to play along with the Patriots' mystique, that you can't beat the Patriots by professing this sort of fake respect. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're right. Look, we played that Malcolm Jenkins sound, but the only thing we objected to is it's a team of destiny. Yeah. Destiny doesn't matter. You got to go out there and play. You know, Sal Powell with us. That's the only thing that sort of struck us. But you made a great point, and I think it speaks to the two teams that are going to be meeting on the field in Minneapolis, and it's resiliency. I mean, we talk about the Patriots winning without Julian Edelman all season. That Gronk goes down in the first half, and they still find a way to beat a very good Jacksonville defense. And everything that Philadelphia has put on there, I don't know if that makes them a team of destiny, but it certainly feels like, Sal, these are the teams that have dug deeper maybe than anybody this year in dealing with a bunch of injuries.
Yeah, team of destiny is an emotional comment from a player. I agree with you, Trey. It's not going to win the game. Execution's going to win the game. And I go back to the trips right flea flicker that Doug Peterson called for Nick Foles. And Nick said after the game, you know, I've never had a coach at any level, high school, college, say in my ear, trips right flea flicker. And he said he had to hide his smile in the huddle because he didn't want to give the play away to the Vikings. He had to hide his glee. And okay, You call the flea flicker, you execute the handoff and then the toss back to the quarterback, but then you got to drop it in the bucket on the 1 yard line and have Torrey Smith catch it off the back shoulder and bring 2 feet down. So you're right, Trey. Team of destiny is one thing, but you got to execute. And the Patriots execute. And so the only way you're going to beat them, again, is to go back to what you've been doing, and that is call the right plays and execute them.
Absolutely. And look, it looks like thank you. You are a professional. Thank you. Yeah. It looks like everybody was in the flea flicker. Jacksonville called one, and the Patriots called one as well. Sal, this is going to be a lot of fun. Philadelphia fans bring a lot of emotion. We appreciate it. Of course, we'll be with you out there in Minneapolis. We'll see it all full force. Thanks for being up early this morning, Sal.
See you, Sal. I'll talk to you guys on Friday. Thank you.
You got it, brother.
He
Sal
wanted to be in the dune buggy.
He wanted to be in the dune buggy. Look, having been there, I'll say this. The draft is going to be great in Dallas.
Yeah.
Philly set the bar.
Philly was fantastic.
Friday night at 11:30 when the Eagles' third-round pick was being made, we had over 100,000 people outside the Art Museum screaming, "Fly, Eagles, fly" at the top of their lungs.
This is where I spent most of my career. It is a great sports town. It is a great sports town. They'll let you know when they don't like what you're doing, but man, they'll love you when they love what you're doing. That's for sure.
And they'll tell you either way,
which
makes it great. You know where you stand.
You know where you stand by which finger they're holding up and how well you're doing.
And how long that finger is held up. The outfield with us on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and our next guest knows what it takes to win a Super Bowl, knows what it takes to get to a championship game, knows what it takes to hoist that Lombardi Trophy. Brian Billick, former head coach of the Baltimore Ravens and now working for the NFL Network, joins us now. And Brian, good morning. Thanks for being with us. We've been sort of breaking down that epic game in the AFC Championship tilt between the Jaguars and the Patriots, and we've all sort of tried to figure out the point where we felt like, this is going the wrong way for the Jags. Was there a point in that game where you thought, wait a minute, I feel like they're playing not to lose as opposed to win?
Yeah, you could tell. And the Jaguars, they played brilliantly. They did what they had to do. The hard thing I talked about all last week when you play, particularly in New England, when you look at what Jacksonville did to Pittsburgh and they ran the ball in the third downs and the red zone conversions and put pressure on Roethlisberger and didn't give up big plays. They did all the things you have to do. Well, when you play in New England, you got to do them all. You got to be 6 for 6. You can't be 4 out of the 6. You can't even be 5 out of the 6. And Jacksonville kind of did what they needed to do. They ran for better than 100 yards. They were decent on third down, 2 for 2 in the red zone. They had 5 explosive plays. They sacked Brady. They did all those things, yet it just wasn't enough. And for me, it was early in that fourth quarter. Even though New England wasn't scoring, they were changing field position.
Right.
And those last couple possessions where Jacksonville started inside their 15, inside their 10, that's when I began to think, oh, boy, is Blake Bortles going to be good enough to make enough plays to move them off in a critical situation? And if you give Tom Brady any field position with any time at all, this isn't going to go well.
Bill, Brian, I hear people saying that, and they played well. They did what they had to do. I've heard others say that as well. And it's almost like their consolation prize of, oh, you did pretty well, but it's a Patriots, so, this is going to happen. I don't know, man. I'd be angry if I was a player on that Jacksonville team. When I look back on this tape and say, we were beating this team. It's not like we went to Foxborough and got beat 31-3. We were winning. And let's be honest, they stopped doing some of the things they did to get that lead. Now, New England made some adjustments, but it doesn't mean you just run a guy headlong into an 8-9 man box on first down because you're trying to kill the clock, the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I would be mad if I was one of those players at the way they didn't adjust to some things.
Well, there's no question about that. And plus, first, let's make it very clear. They're not going to look at the film. You can't watch that film. That's one of those things where, and I've talked to coaches all the time that have lost the Super Bowl or lost in a championship game, and it's too painful to go back to look at. But when you do, or if you do, and you do that post-game analysis, you're exactly right. And I don't want to beat up on the guy because he's actually had a pretty good postseason. But I think part of it is, okay, do we really trust Blake Bortles backed up on our 10 to do the things that we have to do? That's probably not fair. And again, it's New England. I mean, at the end of the day, Matt Ryan couldn't do the things he had to do with that unbelievable comeback after the Super Bowl. It's cliche. We've been doing it for 20 years, but Brady and Belichick and in Foxborough and all that, it is such a different level. It's probably not fair to knock Blake Bortles. But by the same token, that's what you got to do. Teams that have done that in that situation have made the plays, knowing that believe me, Doug Marrone was feeling the same thing I was, going, oh boy, I don't like this field position thing the way it's going. I don't want to give Brady a short field with one possession or two possessions left to go. But you balance that with, okay, do I let my guy go make some plays? And he did. He made some plays. Obviously, a couple penalties put him back behind it. But it is cliche. It doesn't make it any easier, and it doesn't hurt any less. But at the end of the day, you got to give the Patriots and Tom Brady their due.
Brian Billick, former Super Bowl winning coach with the Baltimore Ravens, working for the NFL Network, joins us now on Golic and Wingo on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Brian, as I look at that game in the AFC Championship game, to me there were two wasted opportunities for Jacksonville. One in the first half by the offense, one in the second half by the defense. I didn't have a huge problem kneeling with 55 seconds down. They had the lead. They were going to get the ball to start the third quarter. But I thought their last actual drive in the first half was telling. There was a timeout. Then they come out on a 3rd and 7, and they convert it for a 12 yards and a first down. Now they have a chance to go up maybe 17-3 or 21-3, and instead they get a delay of game coming out of a timeout. That can't happen. And the other one that struck me is you're up 10 in the fourth quarter. You're doing everything right. It's 3rd and 18, and somehow you allow them to convert a 3rd and 18. To me, that was the backbreaker.
It is, and you're right on both of them. And it underlines, again, there's no one thing. Go back, when you look at a player dropping a ball or anything that says, okay, we lost this game, you're right. There's usually 2 or 3 things, which really is what the NFL is all about. At the end of the day, there are going to be 2 or 3 situational things that happen that all right, if we're going to win it as championship in Foxborough, these couple things, you're right. We cannot get a delay of game coming out of a timeout. We can't give up. I don't care if it's Tom Brady. I don't care who it is. We can't give up a 3rd and 18. And those are the reason why you are now not going to a Super Bowl, and you go back and you evaluate them. But the flip side of that is, if you're going to be a champion, do you not make that 3rd and 18? Yes, you do, which is unlikely as that may be. That's why they're the champion. They believe in what they're doing. They have the confidence of that conviction of having done it before. And that's the challenge when you play a team like New England. But you're absolutely right. There's 2 or 3 situational calls that is talked about a great deal about the brilliance of Bill Belichick, and that they're so good in terms of those situations, where obviously Jacksonville was not.
Over in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, tell me how and tell us how, with the 2 most important games where you win and you move on, or you lose and you go home, that the Eagles are winning with a backup quarterback.
Well, I tell you what jumps out at me And I'm actually going through my film now, getting ready for my week at the Super Bowl where I do my show playbook, and we'll get together and sure talk and all the clips that I do for the NFL Network. And I'm going back and looking at all the tape, and the progression of Nick Foles over the last 5 weeks. And you got to give Doug Peterson a great deal of credit. The offense they're running now, and it's typical, whoever's your quarterback, you got to find what they do best and accentuate that. But looking at that and the way they've morphed themselves a little bit from what they were doing with Carson Wentz in terms of the RPOs, in terms of some of the throws that they're asking Nick Foles to make, the protection schemes, they've evolved over the last 5 weeks to where now truly they're doing and are Nick Foles' offense. And you've got to give them great credit for evolving to that late in the season, not just saying, well, this is what got us here to this point, we'll just continue to pound away here. They're a different offense right now than they were under Carson Wentz. They're wrapped around Nick Foles, and that defense is the real deal. So I give Doug Peterson a whole lot of credit for the adapting that they did over the last month.
Absolutely, and you can make that case in both games, how they've adapted the game plan. I mean, the Patriots emptied the book, that playbook, in the second half. That's how much respect they had for the Jacksonville defense. And then who would have thought that we'd say Nick Foles and Joe Montana in the same sentence, the only quarterbacks with back-to-back completion percentages of 75% in 2 straight games. So Eagle fans, Brian, are looking for tickets. Patriots fans, like they are every year, are looking for Super Bowl tickets. If I was looking to you, Brian, for Super Bowl tickets, where would you steer me?
Well, you got to know you're going to go to SeatGeek.com. I do a lot of radio shows in Philadelphia, and I've been doing this for years. They know to go to SeatGeek.com, particularly when you're looking at Super Bowl tickets. Why? Because you get the SeatGeek app. It's going to give you, and as you all know, this is like the stock market now. Ticket prices between now and game time are going to go up. They're going to go down. You got to have the right information. You go to the SeatGeek app. You can see the trending. Right now, tickets are averaging about between $5,000 and $7,000. That's going to change. You got to have the right information, recognize where it is the tickets are going to be, see what kind of deal you're getting. Best part about it is on SeatGeek.com, all transactions 100% guaranteed.
All right, Brian, we appreciate the time and look forward to talking to you more and breaking down stuff for the Super Bowl. We appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, we'll do it.
Golk and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News until our coverage of the Australian Open is over. Then we bounce to ESPN2 on the television side. So that real quickly, that play by first of all, that play by Miles Jack was one of the most amazing plays I've ever seen.
Fantastic play.
That was on the double pass play, and it was a big gainer, and somehow Miles Jack gets over there and rips that ball out. And I wasn't sure what the call was on the field.
I wasn't either,
because Miles looked very upset. I thought they were going to say that he was down, that
down by
Dion
contact.
was down by
right,
contact.
by contact, yes.
And then they ruled that, I think correctly, that the ball was coming out and he ripped it out of there. And I thought, I wasn't that blown away by the fact that I'm blowing the whistle, because I thought from the ref's perspective, it certainly looked like as he was ripping the ball away and taking possession, he was touched on the way down.
Right.
Dion Lewis and Miles Jack's bodies were together, so I thought for sure that would be down by contact, but other people thought that maybe he wasn't.
And if they blew the whistle, then, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
Once the whistle is blown, it can't go to replay or as far as that part of it is concerned. But I actually thought whatever was going to be called on the field was actually going to stay, because it was going to be too hard either way, I think, to overturn.
I agree. And so that was the big thing. What was the call on the field, which we've seen go the other way a couple of times. So I was happy to see that's the standard. The standard is, unless there's irrefutable evidence, you stay with the call on the field. They did that, and I think they got it right in that situation. Of course, the story leading up to this game in the AFC Championship was all about Tom Brady's hand. And there were people out there that saying this is all a troll by Tom Brady and this is head games by Bill Belichick. Well, you know what? That was not the case at all. Don't take our word for it. Take Tom Brady's. This was Tom Brady this morning on Kirk and Callahan on WEEI, where he makes his weekly radio appearance. And this was him describing his level of concern about the injury to his right thumb when it happened.
We ran into each other, and my thumb just got bent back. It wasn't his helmet or anything. It just, kind of got bent back. That's why I thought it was a lot worse. The doctors, we went and checked it out, and we did, the things just to kind of check on everything. And fortunately, there wasn't, the damage that normally comes associated with that. So I think we're very lucky.
I mean, he went on to say, he was worried. He wasn't sure. I mean, he really wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be able to go until Friday's practice when it felt a little better.
And again, for those that didn't see it, we had a picture up where the cut was. Just open the palm of your hand and go to the meaty part on the palm, right at the bottom of the thumb there. That's where the cut was. But the fear really was his thumb got bent back, and then the cut happened with the pressure of the bending back of the thumb, which I can only imagine that happened, and he went, no way that just happened, and had to be going, is there any structural damage to my thumb? The cut you deal with.
That's a surface
man,
one.
was there structural damage to his thumb?
And he went on to say, again, that was his main concern.
It was pretty stressful. I think I was stressed out. Because, again, you drive home and you got, all these stitches in your hand in a place. And I got home and I saw my wife and she said, what happened? And I said, I know, it's just accident practice. And she said, what's going to happen? I said, I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes.
I mean, there was legitimate concern on his part.
I mean, listen, once there was no structural damage, I'm sure everybody in the world was relieved. Then it's like, okay, you're playing with a cut on your hand. Now, it's a quarterback, and the ball can be resting on that part when you're throwing the ball. That cut really on anybody else is not, as I've always said, injuries are a lot dependent on the position that you play.
Yeah.
Like, this injury isn't affecting an offensive lineman.
No, it isn't.
A defensive lineman, someone like that.
Club it up and go.
But a quarterback who's got the ball's got to rest on that and go off of that, there may be some effect. But once there was no structural damage, I'm sure there was a major sigh of relief.
And Mike, you and I have talked that we thought there was one play that really flipped the script in the second half. It was the 3rd and 18 completion. And Tom Brady agreed. He said that was the thing and the play that they needed.
That was huge. And, you need sparks. I mean, you need something to ignite you. When you're losing, it's, which play is it going to make that's going to really kind of incite everything. That was one of those plays. Kind of got sacked and backed up. And then, Danny made an incredible catch on that play, as he did all night, made a bunch of incredible catches, as did, Brandon Cooks and Hogues played great. And, I thought the line did a great job blocking, going against one of the best fronts, we faced all year. We hung in there, we battled, and, ultimately we came out on top.
Again, they did get 3 sacks to Jacksonville, but there wasn't as much pressure in the second half.
Nope.
And New England was chipping well. There was good blocking on that play there. It was a standard 4-man rush again. Jacksonville just wasn't, even on 3rd and 18, they were just going to play back, but play the sticks again. Play the sticks.
Know where you are on the field.
That was just an unforgivable mistake defensively, because rarely do you dialing up that 3rd and 18 play, in the playbook.
Well, to that point, they had never completed in the postseason history a play of 3rd and 15 or longer up until that one. So unbelievable. That was the one that really turned it around. Coming up, Super Bowl champ Ryan Clark in studio next. Golic and Wingo on a Monday morning.
I'm a robot vacuum cleaner, so yeah, I got one gig. I suck up dirt. So pardon my inferiority complex about Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could they save their customers money on car insurance, but they got fast and friendly claim service too. And an award-winning mobile app. Plus access to licensed agents 24/7. Who am I kidding? I can't even do corners. Uh-oh, choking hazard.
Popcorn kernels.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.